Mark lives in Newport in Wales and was diagnosed some years ago. He's on the mend now, but his story is common.
I was 21 years old, in my third year at university, and following a period of increased mental speed, which is what I thought was happening, I suddenly felt myself to be a hugely important religious figure. I felt myself to be divine. I ran off to London claiming myself to be the Messiah, of all things. Obviously this wasn't quite right. I had 100 quid in my pocket and I was in Newcastle, the university I was at, and I thought, for some reason I thought I had to go to London. So I did. I jumped on a train, got to London, slept on the streets for a night down there after Manic street preaching, basically, in London, outside King's Cross tube station, outside Westminster Cathedral. I actually strode up the aisle in Westminster Cathedral, intent on taking over Mass. But I got rescued by a verger who kindly ushered me out of the door. But then I had decided I had to get back up to Newcastle. Also, my brain was working very strangely at this time. So I just jumped on a few trains. I'd given all my money away. So I just jumped the train. I ended up in Peterborough, of all places, and then they shut me off because I didn't have a ticket. And when I was in Peterborough, I noticed that there was a train standing empty on this platform 8, I think it was. And I ended up getting on this train and it was empty. I got into the driver's compartment and I ended up trying to drive it. I read the driver's instruction manual, but I couldn't make any sense of it. It was in a weird language. But I was pulling all these levers. I pressed the horn about 7 or 8 times, and no one noticed. At this huge train station, no one came up and said, "Oi, what are you doing trying to nick our train?" I ended up then jumping on another train after realising that this one wasn't going to go anywhere. And I ended up getting nicked by the British Transport Police in Doncaster, from where my father picked me up. And the next day I was taken into hospital, obviously, in need of some kind of help. When you're mad, it's a sensation within yourself of real speed, of real pace. It's like you've got a mind that's really going for it, and it's a buzz. I mean, in the world, you see there's lots of grey and there's lots of pain and there's lots of poverty and crap. But when you go mad in one way, when you go on a manic high, all that becomes absolutely irrelevant. The questions of religious guilt evaporate. You're not subject to anyone else's laws apart from your own laws. But then the downside is there's that lyric in a song that goes, "What comes up must come down," and that's very true. When you go up into these places, when you go to the good bits, which there are, you then have to come down. You have to counteract the high with a low, and so then you get depression and emptiness and loneliness. So it's a double-edged sword. It can be beautiful, but at the same time it can be absolutely terrifying and very painful.